I just want to go through the user avatar system that we use for developing our applications. So we use this for the sketching, for requirements analysis, even for some marketing. We definitely use it for the development. But here, generally, we start off with the sketching, and then once we create the avatars, they become a kind of like a conversation point with other stakeholders or other users within the application. So they're very similar. The idea kind of comes from what you would do in user journey mapping. So this is, let's say, a more kind of fleshed out way. And basically, what you do is you still have your customer avatar. So this is for an actual app. Not to offend anyone, but we wanted to show someone that was, let's say, not so tech savvy. So that's why we picked that avatar. The app here was a point of sale app, or a part of it was a point of sale app. You kind of pick, there are different traits and attributes with these three different questions. Where do they struggle? What are their goals and needs? And what tasks do they have? Which is great because it kind of comes to you're building the app to solve some pain points and what you need them to do in their interaction with the applications. And then you would work that out in their journey. So you create a user journey or even a customer journey and the different stages, and they generally follow into these different categories of discovery, learning, using, goal. What we found is when we present, let's say, and we've built applications, by the way, with this, and they've been very successful, but we present this kind of information to a client, it becomes a little bit complicated, and then you're figuring out, well, is this at the discovery stage? Is this at the learning stage? What tasks does Agatha actually have? And what are the touch points? One of the sections here is in the touch points. So we've kind of simplified it, and we found that this does generally work well. But what we do is we create user avatars. And in this instance here, I went through this in another video. This is where we're building a time application or time tracking application. We just have two avatars, and we build the application, or we design the application initially, at least, for these two different types of avatars. And they might represent the two different types of users. You might only have one type of user, but generally you will have multiple types of users. And we would give them certain attributes and certain needs, but we don't need to structure it in such a way. It's kind of still brainstorming. It's a way that anyone can kind of interact with it. Anyone can have the input, and no one needs to figure out, well, is this a task? Is this a need? Is this part of the journey? Is this the discovery? Is this part of the learning? None of that crack. So let's say if we just go through Sarah, right? So in this application, we've got a manager, an IT manager, and she wants to track time. Okay, so we give her, this is her team size. One trait which might seem inconsequential, but what you might figure out from here is, maybe we need a Slack integration. So she uses Slack a lot for her job. This is actually based on a real person, but her name isn't Sarah. But she wants this, and we just highlight in red, let's say, the pieces that are particularly important to that person. So she wants to cut down time on reviewing timesheets. She's tried a few, and she's very tech savvy, or pretty tech savvy, sorry. And then the other user is John. And John is just in this scenario, he works for Sarah or someone like Sarah. He's a contractor developer. He uses Jira a lot in this contract. He uses iPhone and his laptop. So again, if we just give those kind of attributes that we know, okay, we'll need a mobile responsive website or even app. But here's where, let's say, this kind of jumps out of the user journey mapping. John wants to focus on coding, so we want to build an application for him that's slick, that doesn't get in his way. And he's very tech savvy, so we can build in certain features into the app so that the app doesn't get in his way. Now, once we do a little bit more customer development and we go through the MVP stage, we can change the avatars, we can add to the traits, or we can add more avatars and start building it for them. But generally, initially for the first projects, what we will do is we will just give one or two user avatars, and we will build the application for them.